Hi, everyone. I'm Kathryn Rose, CEO and founder of WiseHer, and we provide on-demand expert advice to help small business owners, entrepreneurs, and professionals accelerate their business or career growth. Our nearly 1,000 experts from around the world support these folks with affordable one-on-one advice that help them go farther, faster in their business or career. Today on Ask the Expert Live, I am excited to have with me on this Get Wise Wednesday, Irene Chan. Irene is a writer and a live video producer. She's been working in the digital marketing industry for a decade and loves the creativity of video production. She has a degree in broadcast communication and is always imagining new live videos to produce. She is in the Philippines and lives with her husband and 2 kids. Welcome, Irene.
Thank you so much for having me, Kathryn.
So start a little bit about why you decided to really dive into live video.
Yeah, that's a really great question. I think I've always been drawn to live video because I love video. I grew up in the 90s. So I was like watching MTV all the time when I was a teenager. And I find it so fascinating to put some random videos together and then it becomes a music video. So I guess that's also one of the reasons why I wanted to have a career in broadcast communication, because, you know, you can create videos, produce videos, be also in front of the camera. So when I started a YouTube channel, maybe 8 or 9 years ago, because I had a tech blog and I thought I could also do some tech reviews. And then they have the ability to go live when you have 100 subscribers. You can go Google Hangouts on air. That's gone now. But yeah, when I got that feature, I was really excited and I tried it out immediately. And then Facebook Live, actually, that's kind of like the kickoff of the live video, which kind of became mainstream when Facebook Live was released in 2016. And at that time, I was in Israel and everything was fascinating to me. So I would go live and, you know, just like show everything that I've been seeing. So I didn't know that it's going to turn into a career. So yeah, I was just like a natural live video person.
So it was just something that you really enjoyed doing, and you know, it looks like an early adopter of, which is really fantastic. Talk about how you've seen the live video like revolution change. I mean, you mentioned MTV. Now, obviously, those are highly scripted and have you know, big Hollywood producers and you know, require studios and stuff. And now, you know, look where we are, right? Like I'm in my basement bunker, I call it, because my office is so close because of COVID. You know, and you're in the Philippines, and you know, so talk about that sort of revolution that you've seen over the last you know, 10 or so years.
Yeah, actually, there's been a lot of revolution and evolution in terms of live video. So at that time, like when I mentioned Google Hangouts on air, it wasn't something that people really, it was something nice to have in your YouTube channel, but it wasn't something you do regularly, you know, for YouTubers or for content creators. But then Facebook Live released in 2016, and the first early adapters of Facebook Live were actually influencers or big publishers, you know, BuzzFeed, all of the big stars. But then it became kind of a tool for business owners, especially coaches, because coaches are already like video people. So now they can use live video to promote their business. So that's kind of like, I think, the best transition for Facebook Live, and not just Facebook Live, but also live streaming in general. I know there's another one called Blab. So before the Facebook Live, but then it got wiped out and closed down. So people like kind of naturally dive into Facebook Live. And anyway, so one of the things that was really pivotal in terms of live video was in 2020 during the pandemic. So everything was shut down. People were figuring out, business owners, especially brick and mortar businesses, were figuring out, how do we keep engaging our existing customers, or how do we sell basically online? And a lot of the answers became live stream. So yeah, there are tons of format in terms of like the types of content they can do with live video, but live sales became kind of really critical when the pandemic started.
Right. And, you know, and it used to be of course, you know, when you were going to do a video, there were like 25 million takes because you were recording it onto your computer. And now, you know, using live video, you really don't have the option to be like, okay, hold up, you know, rewind, let's do that again. So, and the other thing too, I think that is something that has held people back in the past, and I want you to definitely address this, is this idea that everything has to be perfect. I'm in my little bunker here, as I call it, but, I have my ring light and I have another light in front of me and like all this stuff. And, but you don't need to do that, right?
Yeah, of course. It really depends on your business and your branding. And I'm so glad you actually asked this question because I have a most recent story. So currently we're in lockdown in the Philippines. And speaking of like things not being perfect, I'm not sure, but if you can hear in the background that neighbors' dogs are just like barking. It's 9 p.m. in the Philippines. So anyway, yeah, so you just have to push through. So regarding the question of whether everything has to be perfect, it's definitely not. I think the most important thing is to show up. So the reason why I think this question is perfect, because recently we're in a lockdown and I've been going live from my phone, just when I think of something that I wanted to share, like my journey during the lockdown. I went live and I didn't have any makeup on. So after the live stream, I got a message, a private message saying that I should wear makeup when I go live. And I said, it's not logistically possible for me to always put makeup on because I have 2 kids, 3 and 1, and I'm running my freelance business. So I said it's more important for me to show up than not show up just because I didn't have makeup on. And she even argued that and said, "You're a live streamer, not a radio broadcaster." So,
Interesting.
yeah. So she was like telling me that no, you're required to put makeup on. So yeah.
That's really interesting. And I had a similar experience. I was on a live stream, and somebody had written in the comments like, and it was private to me, and it said, lady, you look tired. And I was like, well, at the time, my mom was in the hospital. I had 2 kids in lockdown same thing, I'm running a startup. And I was like, honey, who isn't tired, right? But I find it interesting that people do reach out. But I think on the converse side of that, we had over 1,000 people on that call now, and everyone else was messaging me, telling me how wonderful the content was. And I'm sure, with your live streams that people are always watching and commenting really positive stuff. So I think it's important that you mention that, you just kind of have to do you. And it's not possible to be perfect all the time. I remember many, many years ago, where we have public television here in the United States. And it used to be when they showed the public television broadcast, there were volunteers in the background answering the phones and taking donations. And I volunteered. So I'm in the background taking the calls, and people are donating money to the public television. And this person called in specifically to say, hey, could you tap the anchor of the broadcast on the shoulder and tell her to brush her hair? So like, this has been forever, people are going to judge you, but I think part of it is you just can't let it get you down, right? You can't let it stop you. And I think the important point is to show up is the most important thing, because, the fact that she even noticed, hopefully she noticed your content too, right? So it's really interesting that you say that. But, if you did want to set up a little bit more of a, I guess, professional type thing, what are some kinds of equipment that you would recommend for folks to dive into this whole live streaming broadcasting arena?
Yeah, I think there are 3 basic things. So definitely a webcam, a ring light, and a good mic. I think if you have to prioritize only just one, that would definitely be a mic. Because people will sit through a blurry video or like not so ideal resolution, but they will leave the moment that the audio is terrible. Right now, I'm actually telling my husband not to move in the kitchen because I'm live. Sorry, everything's crazy now that I'm recording this video. So yeah, definitely, I'm using currently a USB mic. So it's ideally called a cardioid mic. So it should drive out this background noise, but of course it will pick up some noise. And I'm using a Logitech camera. It's like super cheap, like $50 for for the camera, and the ring light is also super cheap. Like in the Philippines,
Yeah.
you can get it like for $5.
Yeah.
So those are three things, because lighting is really great, and a good background as well. So I have like a fake brick. So this is kind of like my official studio for live stream when I'm not on the phone, and like for more formal setting, like a live interview, I'm definitely like having this. And I also put makeup on, so I'm not sure if you can tell.
That helps.
But
That
yeah.
helps.
Yeah.
So when you talk about going live on the phone too, like, do you have tips? I mean, are those little things you can, you can clip on for lighting, or do you just kind of go for it?
Oh, for the phone, I also have a ring light, because there are tons of ring light where you can put your phone inside the ring light, kind of like in the center of the ring light. But most of the time I just use the natural light, just so it's more it's easier for me to move around, especially if I'm showing something. And basically just pointing your face to the source of light, like in the window. Make sure that's super important, because if you're against the light, you would just be like a silhouette and a shadow on your own live stream. Yeah.
So really, it sounds like the most important things obviously are the audio first and foremost, right? And then second, the some of the quality of the video, but also making sure that you have light pointed at your face. If it's behind you, right, it'll make you look like you're in shadow. Beyond looking, beyond how you show up visually in your videos, what are some of the best practices that you found in terms of like the types of videos? Is it okay to go just live, or can you record something and put it up later? Is there a lot of viewer, you see a lot of viewers drop off if it's not a live video, for example?
Oh, so there's actually different types of video formats. So first, you can definitely stream a pre-recorded video as a live stream. So right now we're recording this, and then we're gonna publish it as a live stream. And right now it's totally okay, because previously Facebook did not allow people to live stream a pre-recorded event. But now you can totally do that, as long as you are transparent and you put it in your caption that you are streaming a pre-recorded event. So that's the first best practice. Whether you're streaming a pre-recorded event or like a live event where it's actually happening live, you just need to be transparent. So that's the first thing. Be transparent, because you can get banned by the specific platforms. Currently, LinkedIn doesn't allow streaming pre-recorded events as a live stream, but Facebook and YouTube allow pre-recorded events to be streamed as a live event. So as much as possible, if you can, try to live stream. And also there's tons of pros and cons. So for a live stream, when people join, they're able to ask questions, or it's more engaging, it's more interactive. So the more the live stream is engaging, the better you score in the algorithm, and more people will show up. Yeah, so that's kind of like the pros and cons in terms of the pros, of course, of a pre-recorded event is that you're not limited with a schedule, because sometimes your guests are not available in terms of like for example, for Get Wise Wednesday and for Funding Friday, it's usually 12 midnight my time, but 12 p.m. EST. So sometimes people are not available and you really want to book this person. So that's okay. Like record the event and then you can broadcast it later. And there's so many options too. You can also upload it as a full YouTube video. So right now the options are limitless. It all depends on like what works for you, what works for your guests. And again, I guess the important thing is, to show up. It's better to record the video and then just say, I give up because people are not available in the schedule.
Right. And of course, when we go live twice a week, then I'm the host. So I have to block that time. So yeah, I mean, the idea of being able to, pre-record things. And I think that the message of just get it done. Right. And you can always do live videos other times and then, mix up the strategy because you just don't know, right, and where your audience is. And I think it's important to get those analytics. And I'll touch on that in just 1 minute. But I did want to ask about more best practices. So what about like the length of the video? So sometimes I see people go live on Facebook and it's like a 5 minute, tip, maybe even under that. And then, we usually do like 30 minutes. What are your recommendations there?
Yeah. First, it also depends on the type of content. Like for the Ask the Expert, since it's a live interview, I think it's 30 minutes is like the minimum because you will be able to cover a lot of questions. If it's too short, then it's not like sufficient to provide really substance to the audience. So that's kind of the thing. Like, what is the format and what is the topic that you're going to discuss? Because then that kind of determines the length. But if it's just you, kind of like a live Q&A, you can commit, let's say, to 10 minutes answering all of the questions that you get, and then if the question stops, you can quit after 10 minutes, or you can go longer if there are more engagement. So there's no limit as to what is the length. So the third is there's also some kind of a virtual summit. So we did it before for Wise Her as well. I was one of the speakers where we did, I think, 12 hours.
It was 12 hours. Yeah, back to back. Remember? Yeah.
So like with tons of experts. So that's another format, and that could be super fun, especially if it's it's like a virtual summit when you have multiple speakers. That will be kind of like a 20-minute or 30-minute slots. And it's something that you wouldn't normally do regularly, kind of like once a year.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it really depends on the content, your resources as well, and the goal of why you're doing the live video.
Okay, great. And what are your best practices around having guests? I mean, I know most of the stuff that I do is, it's usually Ask the Expert or, something around that where I normally have guests. But I see most of your ones and they are you alone. So in terms of that kind of strategy, talk a little bit about, that for us.
Ooh, actually, that's a really great question. And I divide my strategy for live video in two parts. One, I do it by myself if I want to commit to it regularly, and it's something that I just do for fun. So I have a show called Productive Popcorn. Basically, I just talk about what I've watched for that week, so that and then at the same time provide productivity tips, because those are two of my passion, like movie and productivity. Because most people say, like, don't watch TV, don't watch Netflix, because it's like you're not being productive. But for me, I watch a ton of shows, but I'm also super productive. So you can actually combine those things. And so in that way, it's me, like kind of like a podcast almost. I also repurpose it as a podcast. So I know that what my topic is, I can show up even with like no preparation. So it's very sustainable. Of course, it's not as engaging because I'm alone. So for other shows, like for example, I work with Be Live. I have a show, like I have to interview people. So that one requires more preparation. But of course, there's also a lot of benefits, because when you invite a guest, they will share the show as well. Then you will tap their audience. But of course, for having guests consistently, that could take a lot of resources. So it's not something as well that you could like do every week. Like for me personally, so like for the Ask the Expert, I love that it's happening every week. So I'm really actually happy to be part of the process for Ask the Expert. So that one actually really takes commitment to make sure that there are guests every week that can help people with their content. So yeah, it really depends on like what is sustainable for you. Again, like could you commit showing up with just you and like providing content, just like type of a webinar, live Q&A, live walkthrough,
right?
Or do you think that you'll be able to pull in guests every time? And you can also test it out, like do it with you by yourself, and then do one that's also have a guest and see how it works for you and what are the results that you got from the different type of live show.
I think that's important too, about the analytics, and I definitely want to touch on that, because so many times people will put out a strategy and say, I'm going to go live, or I'm going to do video, or whatever that is. But what they miss is measuring the effectiveness. So when you are out and you're doing these live streams and you do them, for us here at Wise Her, what kinds of analytics are you looking at, and what are the best metrics of success that you've seen?
Yeah, so I always ask people, so every time we do a live stream, I always, what is the overall marketing goal? Because then we have to match the metrics, success metrics, KPIs, whatever you want to call it, to the overall marketing goal. So if your goal is like to reach as many people as possible so you can grow your brand and be known in the industry as a leader, then I would suggest reach, impressions, and video views as kind of like the metrics of
So
success.
reach,
Of course,
impressions,
yeah,
and video views. Okay.
yes. And then, of course, you want to get engagement as well, because what if people are viewing your content, but no one is liking it, no one is commenting? So that's super important as well, not just for views, but basically overall for the algorithm. So the more engagement that you get, the more potential people you will reach, and also you will get feedback. So when people engage, you can kind of understand what kind of questions they're asking. So those are like basically the two basic things that so the reach, which it covers reach, impressions, and video views, and then the engagement, like shares, comments. Like two basic things that you always need to check every time you go live. So you need to check your show individually and as a whole as well, like per month and per quarter. So the other thing, so if your goal is directly selling something, so for I know for like I'm a huge fan of live sales because I do it as well, not regularly, but if I want to recommend some products for affiliate marketing, then my goal would be for people to click my affiliate link. So then, of course, I want to reach as many people as possible, but at the same time, I want to see the conversion rate from people watching the show and then how many people clicked it during that show. So I can go to my affiliate dashboard and understand how many people click and how many people bought from my link. So yeah, it really depends on your goal for what you want to achieve for your business or for your startup.
Fantastic. So I think that's an important thing too, is when you go live, you want to have this kind of strategy, like beginning, middle, end, and touch a little bit about this call to action, because so many people, I think, miss this piece of it. They want to provide information, and that's fantastic. But at the end of the day, you're most likely doing this to generate some kind of business, right?
Yes. So yeah, for the call to action, you can actually be super creative about it. And for me, so earlier I mentioned I do this like passion thing about productive popcorn where I just talk about my like things that I've seen for that week. But I also say my call to action at the end is, I'm a live video producer. I help businesses produce their own live shows like this one. So contact me. That my website is in the comments. Feel free to ask any question. So and my target audience for that is actually entrepreneurs. So I titled my show. It's currently I'm still beta testing it. So productive popcorn binge watching for busy entrepreneurs. So it's like a very wide audience, but still I could kind of test my topic, which I like, and then the audience. So it's a very, very top of the funnel, but still I could kind of integrate my call to action. And sometimes if I have blog posts that are related to productivity, then I would mention that as well in the show. And when I use Be Live, they have a thing called live sales. So when I show something, an image, then a link will pop up automatically so people can click it. So it works when you also have affiliate products or a link to my website or blog post. So that's kind of what I do for my CTA. So it really depends. If you have an email list, like for Ask the Expert, like we have a page, go asktheexpert.com for if you want to sign up for our notifications every time we go live. So that's also a great call to action because you can ask people to keep coming back every time that there's an Ask the Expert. So it really depends like which part of the funnel. So where you are. So like if it's really, really top, then maybe just ask people to visit a blog post that you explain more of the topics that you've discussed in the live stream. But if you already have some kind of email integrations in place, then you can bring them to the landing page of the email where we provide more free content. And then if you want to sell, you can also sell. Just, go directly to my shop or to my services page, and people can view that. So yeah, I guess you're limited with your creativity in terms of like inserting the call to action.
It really depends, as you said, on your goals. Is it brand awareness? Is it driving sales? Is it getting people on your email list? But I think the point is that you're trying to make is, know what that goal is and make sure it's in your call to action.
Yes.
I mean, make sure you ask people for whatever it is that you want. We just have a few minutes left, but I definitely want to touch on repurposing, because this is one of the strategies that you and I have been talking about for a long time. Is don't just go live or don't just put up a video. Make sure you're using it in more formats, or cut it down and then repurpose it somewhere else. So talk about your repurposing strategy for a lot of the videos that you do.
Yeah, so I am a big fan of repurposing in general. Like, I like to maximize the things that I'm using. So sometimes I even kind of reverse engineer it. So I kind of think, when I produce a live stream, where can I repurpose it? So going back to the example of my live stream, I repurpose it as a podcast too. Because for me, it's very easy to edit a video, an audio, because that's what I do for a living. So it's a no-brainer. So for a 30-minute live stream, I can turn it into a podcast, 3 short videos. And then, of course, it's already, because I go live on my YouTube channel. And then if I have the time, I would also create a blog post out of the
transcript
live stream. Yeah. So,
right.
And there are a lot of repurposing tools that can help you automate some of this of that process. So again, it also depends on where your audience is. So for me, I go live on Facebook and YouTube. And I don't think we have the time, but because I'm like really liking TikTok right now. But so basically, you have to understand where your audience is and where you could distribute your live stream after the show, and how it will be how it will appear. So if it's short videos, where the short video really do well. So for example, LinkedIn actually is a great place for like short videos. That's really providing one tip with one call to action. So I know that a lot of influencers are doing that. So I guess it's as well being purposeful of your repurposing.
Being purposeful of your repurposing. That's a really good one. That's a really good one. So yeah, we just have a couple of minutes left. So I just wanted to, kind of give you the opportunity to give us your best 3 to 5 tips about utilizing live video.
Awesome. So first tip is, don't overthink it. If you are curious about how live video will work for your business and for your startup, just think of the best way that you can show up. So it doesn't need to be fancy. You can even go live from your phone, Facebook Live on your timeline, and answer the questions that people usually ask you. And then just go live that way and see how you feel. So, just show up and just start. The second is, if you don't want to go live in public, there's also an option of creating Facebook group, a private Facebook group that it's just you. You can even invite a friend if you want, so that they can check it out. So that's another option as well. And then second is asking yourself, why am I doing this live stream? Who am I serving? And how can I provide value for this live stream? So you have to have a strategy, and you have to have a big vision, because live video is just one of the tactics for your overall marketing strategy. So, you have to be very strategic, because you have limited resources as a business owner. And the third one is, always check your analytics. So commit to a few weeks, a few months of testing different times, different topics, different formats, and understand which one works for you, for your audience, and does it bring the results that you need for your business. So I guess those 3 things could kind of cover everything and help you understand how to proceed and continue with live video as part of your overall marketing strategy.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Irene. Thank you, everyone, for being with us today. Irene is an expert on WiseHer, so we'll go ahead and pop the her link into the chat, and feel free to schedule some time with her if you want a deep dive on how to really use live video to accelerate your business growth or even your career growth, right, Irene? I mean, you could use live video to just make yourself a trusted advisor or a thought leader who, you know, may get job offers based on your expertise. So it's not just for business, I would say. And we'll all see you again next time on Ask the Expert. We go live 1 to 2 times a week on Facebook and LinkedIn, and we'd love to have you join us. And if you want to keep up with our topics, get on our list to know when the next Ask the Expert is going to happen, please go to goasktheexpertlive.com and get on the list. Thank you so much, and everyone have a great day.